I'm coming at you live on tape from Sydney, Ohio. And this week's movie is, of course, the thrilling Pet Semetary 2, the greatest of all Pet Semetary movies that are number 2. Wrap your head around that one. Now, this movie was supposed to be about Ellie Creed, the daughter who survived the first one, but the studio did not want it to have a female, the main character to be female. So, instead, it's about Edward Furlong, and it's pretty much a rehash of the first one, only the Creeds are kind of like a local legend. There's something that happened, but no one quite believes is real, except for this veterinarian who retired, who examined the bodies. So, instead of a sequel, it's more a retelling. And as I said, it's starring Edward Furlong and Anthony Edwards and Clancy Brown. My favorite character is Clancy Brown in it, by the way. But Edward Furlong's acting did not impress me at all. But neither did really Anthony Edwards. But then again, my favorite character in it is Clancy Brown. It starts with Edward Furlong, who was a child in it, because I don't think he did any acting as an adult. And we watch his mother horribly die in being electrocuted on the set of a movie by accident. And then we go to his father, who's a veterinarian, putting his mother in the ground, and Clancy Brown, who's the town sheriff, kind of keeping people away. Now, then they move into the new house, which is in the same town as the Creeds, but it's not on the highway, so there aren't a bunch of trucks passing them by. And we meet the housekeeper, whose name I don't remember, but is really not in that many scenes. And then Edward Furlong's character, Jeff, and his father, Dr. Matthews, go to Dr. Matthews' veterinarian clinic, who's taking over for somebody else, and they meet kittens, lots of kittens. There's like 300 kittens in this scene. The whole place is filled with kittens, head to toe. And that was like 6 kittens. And Jeff, of course, gets one. And then we meet Zowie and Gus's stepson, whose also name I don't remember. And that's Zowie, his stepson's dog, who is getting into Gus's chickens. Wait, not his chickens, his rabbits. Gus should have chickens, because chickens produce eggs. Rabbits just shit everywhere and fuck like crazy. But then again, Gus fucks like crazy, so maybe that's why he likes rabbits. And so Zowie gets treated, and Gus hates Zowie, because Zowie messes with his rabbits. You know who else messes with rabbits? Elmer Fudd. You know who else was a sheriff like Gus? Elmer Fudd. So they have a lot in common. So then Jeff goes to school and takes his kitten with him, because he wants his kitten to get an education. And the local bully, whose name I don't remember, steals the kitten and puts it in the pet cemetery, but tells Jeff it's dead, so Jeff fights him and gets beat up. Then Jeff goes into Pet Semetary and finds the kitten alive in a birdcage. Why there's a birdcage in Pet Semetary? Maybe they were hoping they could bury their bird in their birdcage. I don't know. But then the fat kid, who's Gus's stepson, says he's sorry about Jeff's mom, and they become instant friends. They bond over Jeff's mom's death. Just like Batman and Superman bonded over the name Martha, they bond over Jeff's mom's death. But then Zowie gets into Gus's chickens, and Gus shoots her. So the fat kid, and Jeff go to bury Zowie at the Indian burial ground, and Zowie comes back to life. But they called Dr. Matthews in his mobile vet clinic to treat Zowie, and we find out Zowie's dead, which we already knew, but Dr. Matthews can't figure out. And then, since Jeff is grounded, his mother lets him go to Pet Semetary for Halloween. Gus comes home and raids the Pet Semetary and starts beating the crap out of his kid. At which point Zowie shows up and kills Gus. At which point Jeff and his kid decide to bury Gus in the Pet Semetary. Now we're going to have a lawman with no morals, back to life with no morals. So he's going to be like every other lawman in the world, at least in the United States. I've heard lawmen in other parts of the world have morals. So Gus comes back to life and immediately starts slaughtering his rabbits. Now, of course, we get to see this, and I'm warning you now, you do get to see him killing and slaughtering his rabbits. Just a warning, there is violence against animals in this movie. Gus then seems happier as an undead zombie. Jeff then gets run off the road by the local bully, who Gus stops before he can beat up Jeff, and kills. But the fat kid sees him. And you know, like all fat kids, they can't run very far. And I can attest to that. But he gets back to his house, where he is confronted by Gus and Zowie, but gets to his mother's car on time. But Gus runs his mother's car into a semi-truck, killing them both. At which point Gus takes the bully's body and then steals Jeff's mom's body and heads up to the ancient Indian burial ground. Jeff slips out to bury his mom's body. At which point the housekeeper, whose name I don't know, slips up to the attic to try on Jeff's mom's clothes. At which point Jeff's resurrected mother kills her. Now Jeff's father, Dr. Matthews, goes to stop Gus and Zowie after he hears that Gus exhumed his wife's body, kills Zowie, and after a fight with Gus, kills Gus. Now he gets home just in time to see the housekeeper dead, and Jeff hugging his undead wife. His undead wife, Renee, I think her name's Renee, tells Jeff to go downstairs, but then the bully comes through the door with an axe to kill Jeff, and Renee locks and breaks the knob off the door. They're all going to welcome death as Renee lights the attic on fire. Dr. Matthews is knocked unconscious by an axe. How he just got knocked unconscious, we don't know. I mean, it is an axe. As the bully knocks out an electrical line, which Jeff uses to kill the bully, and then uses the axe to cut the door open and disobeys his mother and gets him and his father out of there with his kitten. The kitten is very important. The kitten is very important. And they all live happily ever after as Renee dies in a fire, the house burns down, and they leave town. This movie isn't as bad as the critics make it say. Sure, Edward Furlong and Anthony Edwards are not that great in it, but Clancy Brown makes up for it. He chews scenery all the way through the movie. He is the king of chewing scenery. At one point, I think he literally bites a wall. He's chewing scenery so badly. So well. And it deals with grief. It deals with what would you do to bring your mother back to life? Would you bury her in an ancient Indian burial ground? I still don't know how the fat kid and Jeff got Gus's body up there. That one I have no clue about. I don't know how Gus brought the bully kid back because you have to bury your own. But this movie sometimes doesn't make any sense. But it is actually a pretty decent movie. It is on Paramount Plus. Watch it. Join me next week where we will talk something about wrestling and we will do some movie that I haven't picked out yet.